Hello guys and welcome back to another video. How are you doing? Everybody fine? So, today we're going to be testing God of War Ragnarok on an RX GPU paired with the Ryzen 5 3600 and 16GB of DDR4 3200MHz RAM. It's as usual the same setup, okay? Just a mid-range kind of setup. And we've arrived in a city kind of area, okay, where the dwarves are staying. And yeah, let's go over the settings first. And this game is really well optimized for a GPU like this. RX 6600 these days usually doesn't do well in games that have high graphical fidelity, but this game is really good looking. And also, as you guys can see, I'm using full screen 1080p mode. VSync is turned off. I'm using FSR3.1 native, okay, and ultra settings preset. Ultra settings preset is applied, and yeah, the rest of the settings you can see right here. There is not much difference in anything. I just turned off motion blur and stuff like that, okay? So let's head right into the game and let's check it out. So why am I using FSR 3.1 in this game and not TAA right now? Okay, there is a little bit of a difference, like I would say 5% difference between the performance of FSR 3 and the performance of a TAA on native resolution. But the thing is that FSR 3.1 in this game looks really good. As you guys can see, the sharpness, maybe you guys can make it out or not, but the sharpness of the image and stuff with FSR 3.1, even at quality, I would say, is a little bit softer than the native resolution, but it's still really good looking. And as you guys can see, the performance, you could easily increase like 3 to 4 FPS by using TAA, but your image is not gonna look this crisp and sharp as it does with FSR 3.1. Okay, so let's start counting the frames again, and let's try to progress a little bit more further. So actually, I'm using a controller right now. The reason for that is because developers, I think, forgot to implement mouse controls. That they don't have that much support for mouse in this game. Okay, open in armor. Why is it not opening with this controller? Alright guys, so these little bug type thingies are here and we are trying to beat them up. I'm trying to use this bow and arrow only and trying to see if I can kill these guys with that, but that's not the case. Still, the FPS is not dropping below 30 all of the time. It's in the 40s sometimes drops in the higher 30s, but not below. Like I have rarely seen it drop below 35 FPS, okay? So this is a very good experience, but many people want the game to be close to 60 FPS most of the time. So what I'm going to do basically is, as sometimes the FPS is dropping in the higher 30s, I'm gonna go ahead and try to use FSR 3.1 on quality. Okay, let's see if we get some improvement here. Yes, indeed we do. And now, as I am looking at the image, it's softer. Okay, it's compared to previously, our quality was like really sharp. It's like playing at 1440p actually. I'm not kidding you guys. It's like playing at 1440p when you use FSR 3.1 at native resolution. But right now it's looking like I am using FSR 3.1, and still it looks really good compared to the previous iterations of FSR. This is really good looking, and as you guys can see, the performance now is dropping. So sometimes when you look at some spots in the game, is still dropping. Like if I look there, as you guys can see, still I'm at 39 FPS 40. But it's still a better, higher FPS are better as compared to previously. What are you doing? Okay. So let's try to move here, and I think I'm supposed to do something else here. Alright guys, so we were supposed to go here. Okay. So while we're moving forward, I can see this sometimes with using FSR 3.1 on quality, my GPU usage is kind of sometimes dropping. Now this area is loading up, and oh my god, look at the FPS here. I think I'm gonna restart the game, guys, because I see that the GPU usage is dropping. So maybe it's due to that. I'll be right back. Alright guys, so I've restarted the game and FPS has kind of improved, okay, a little bit, because as you guys previously saw that we were getting like 28 FPS, which is not very good, okay, for a game like this. At least it's best that you stay above 45 or 40 FPS most of the times and not drop below that, because that's gonna be a very bad experience, okay? So right now with FSR 3.1 on quality, it's getting close to like 90% GPU usage, which is nice. I don't know if it's due to some CPU bottleneck, but right now I don't see CPU being hogged that much in this game also. So that might not be a CPU issue. as far as I can guess. Okay, so you can get these things out of the hiding places, hiding spots. And yep, we did. He's dead. So where was I supposed to go? I think I was supposed to go to the other spot too. A firebomb. Okay, somebody's here. Yeah, these little bug type thingies are here. Okay, so as you guys can see, the performance is pretty stable. Even in cities, even in the city area, the game is running very good. Okay, I wouldn't say it's bad running. Okay, it's really good running. It's running really nicely, and I'm just captivated by the graphics of this area, man. This looks really good. Yeah. So let's try to move it and move forward. Sometimes FPS is going up to 60s also, but not very stable. It's also dropping like to the lower 40s many times also. Okay, I don't want to go into the next mission, and that was a huge stutter. I don't know why. So yeah, let's try to stay in this area, and let's see if we can try to see the performance in these spots only. Okay, let's go to the right. Gotcha. This is also not very intensive compared to the center spot. Okay, as you guys can see, looking at this spot, looking at these like higher above, FPS is dropping. Okay guys, so this is me from the future. What happened was I forgot to test frame generation all along in that video. So yeah, I'm gonna just show you guys the performance, what happens when you use frame generation on top of using just native FSR 3.1, because we want to see if we get double the frame rate or not. Okay, because usually in some games, or in whichever game we have already seen frame generation or FSR frame generation, we have seen that usually the game doubles the FPS. Okay, so let's just pick a scene here. Okay, let's just look at it right here. We're getting 109. No, not very good. Okay, so let's look at it like this. Okay, we're getting 84. Now right now I'm going to change it and disable frame generation first, and we are getting 54 FPS. This is ultra settings 1080p. Okay, and FSR 3.1 at native. So stable frame rate, as you can see right there, is going into the higher 40s and sometimes 50. So double of that would be 90 FPS. Now let's see if this actually doubles the frame rate or not. Yep. Okay, 80 FPS. It's touching 80, so not quite 2 times, but still very nice. Now for these are the highest settings possible for this game, and considering my frame rate right now is 70, I can observe some input lag right now. Let's try to move a little bit forward, and let's see if I get some observe some more input lag going further or not. Okay, so we are in this new area, and yeah, I can observe some input lag actually, but it's not that bad because I'm playing with the controller right now. The input lag is not that noticeable, but the smoothness of the image, that's looking really good. Now let's go ahead and as I can see, the image quality, it's not that good compared to native FSR 3.1 only, but let's use quality on top of it. Okay, now I can see there are some artifacting due to frame generation on top of FSR 3.1 on quality, but yeah, it's still very good looking. Okay, even at 1080p I would say it's really good looking. Not that good looking compared to FSR 3.1 on quality only, but yeah, it's still very good looking. I cannot say that you guys can't even play it if you've got lower FPS, whatever rig you're using. If you've got lower FPS, then you can easily use these settings. Okay, they're not at all an issue to use. Okay, so in this video, then whatever settings you're gonna see me using, if you guys want to get us if you guys want to get an idea of how the frame generation is gonna perform from there, just take the FPS number and multiply it by 1.75. okay, it's like not close to it's like close to 2 times, but not quite 2 times. Okay, so yeah, now back to the main video. Okay, so I wanna stay at this spot, and I wanna just check if I can check the difference between balanced FSR3. Okay, now let's go to balanced FSR3, and I want to see, okay, now I can see some jaggies and some shimmeriness in the objects. Okay, and the leaves that are dropping, like as you guys can see there, they are leaving shadows behind. Okay, now let's go back to quality, and now let's see a leaf drop from somewhere. There are still some shadows in those leaves, but not so much. Okay, they've decreased a lot. So quality FSR3 is really good to go in this game, in my opinion. Okay, now let's try temporal A also, which is TAA for short. And yeah, the game requires a restart. So this will just, yeah, it has lesser amount of ghostiness around the objects, but it looks smoother also compared to FSR3. It looks smoother. Now let's go back to FSR 3.1 native, and I need to restart the game. This is not for checking out the performance. This is actually for checking out just the quality of the image. Okay, and yeah, I don't see much of a difference between TA at native and FSR 3.1 at native in terms of ghostiness. But for the sharpness of the image, FSR 3.1 is better in my opinion. And if you guys can use FSR 3.1 at native because it has some performance loss on native resolution, then I would say you guys should use FSR 3.1. And if you're not bothered by some like 2 to 3 FPS lesser, or yeah, just a percentage of FPS lesser, 5% FPS lesser, then you're okay. So the game is not running really good. I have to restart the game, but first what we're going to do, as we have already seen the performance side of most of the things, I am going to decrease the settings here. Okay, let's go to high settings, keep it at FSR 3.1 at native, and I'm going to restart the game and I'll be right back. Alrighty guys, I've just restarted the game at high settings preset and FSR 3.1 at native. And yeah, so it's at native. I think the FPS is not gonna drop to 30. Okay, now let's just move around and start counting the frames here. Okay, still is dropping into the 30s sometimes, but I can see the GPU usage is at maximum right now. We are 7.3 gigabytes of VRAM usage. Okay, so that's really nice. We're supposed to go here at this spot, so I don't want to go here. I'm gonna move back and let's make a run around here. Let's go to the left. Keep looking up because that decreases your performance also. Now as you guys can see, we're getting like lower 40s sometimes, but not lower than that. Okay, yeah, it dropped into 30. Yeah, as you guys can see, it dropped to 34, which is manageable. I think if you look at the fidelity right now, the difference between ultra settings and high settings is not so much. Textures kind of just drop a little bit. Like look at these rocks and stuff, they are a little bit less detailed than the ultra settings, but still the games, the rest of the settings of the game look really good, like reflections and stuff, shadows, they are all like up to the mark. So in my opinion, high settings, if you want like a smoother experience, a somewhat smoother experience, because I still see that it's dropping into the 30s. So yeah, now let's try to use FSR 3.1 at quality. So immediately when I apply that, as you guys can see, I am like in the 50s more. Okay, yep, FPS going up in the 50s more. And let's go back, let's start counting the frames again. So as you guys can see, in the 60s, 56 FPS average. I'm gonna move back from here because I want to see the FPS drop. Okay, it's dropping into the 30s still. Alright, 53 FPS average. Yep, so you get the idea. You get some improvement with using FSR 3.1 on quality, but not so much. So let's go. When I started the game, it was recommending me to run the game at medium settings. So I'm gonna do just that, and right now I'm gonna apply medium settings, and I'll be right back with you guys. Alright guys, I am back, and we have applied medium settings now, as you guys can see right here, and full screen for 3.1 at native and medium settings preset. Okay, let's go back and let's see the performance. I'm gonna start counting the frames here. So as you guys can see now, I'm touching 60 most of the times, and this was these were the settings that the game was actually recommending. And now in the 70s, 64 FPS average. Let's move back. So looking at this spot, I think this has some issues. Okay, as you guys can see, even at medium settings, my GPU usage is dropping. Okay, I don't know why. Maybe this is very intensive towards the CPU side. CPU usage is still at 40%, but my FPS drops like 20%. There's like 20 to 25% FPS drop in looking at this area. So I don't know if it's if it has an issue or something. Yeah. So now what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to progress in the story a little bit, because we're in this area. I want to see if we can find something more intensive, and I'm going to include that in this video also. Okay, so I'll be right back. Alright guys, we are out of the city spot. Okay, so this is kind of just out of there, and yeah, this is lesser intensive I think compared to the previous area, because that had a lot of I think also that was intensive towards the CPU side more, or VM side, because I don't know, maybe the CPU, because right now also the CPU is being used 40%, so it's the same, but the GPU is being maxed out. So I think it was more intensive towards the CPU side. but this area now is utilizing the GPU at 98% most of the times, and FPS is also staying like in the 60s at medium settings. Okay. Alright guys, as you guys can see, still FPS is in the 60s, and what the heck is this? Can I capture this bird? Nah, this is not gonna happen with the controller, man. It's really hard. Okay, so FPS is in the 60s right now, and okay, let's go here. FPS in the 80s right now, as you guys can see. Now what I'm going to do is basically apply FSR3 at quality. So let's see what the maximum we can do on this. Alright, so these guys are, we got some alligators on the screen. Let's use this mode and let's see if performance actually drops. So he's kind of hitting us a lot. So using heavy attack actually does damage him a lot. Oh my god, he just electrocuted me, man. Yep, so as you guys can see, while in the cutscene we're still getting like 80 FPS. So yeah, oh my god, that's brutal, man. Grab all the loot which came out of this beast, and we can upgrade our blades of chaos. Okay, a new gem. So we upgraded our stuff, and now let's just try to increase the settings one more time, because guys, I want to see that without that village area, what kind of a performance do we see at higher settings. Okay, now this is FSR 3.1 on quality only, and I'm not going to use native res. I'm just going to see if with these settings we get higher FPS, which I think we are doing. We're at, I think this CPU is capable of running the game at 80 FPS, which is kind of looking like the case here. Okay, now even though I've increased the settings to high, the FPS is still in the 80s and also 90s. Yeah, which at medium settings at least there might be some there should be some difference in performance. Now let's go to ultra, and going from high to ultra is, yeah, there is like a drop of like 20 FPS or about 15%, but yeah, it doesn't look that different compared to high settings. So I would recommend you guys to use high settings if you guys want to play this game. And yeah, you can use FSR 3.1 if your FPS drops a lot, but in my opinion, FSR 3.1 native can also be done, except for the city area, which is really intensive. Okay, alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I will see you all in the next one. Okay, bye bye.